Improved security has enhanced investor confidence, including those seeking contracts in reconstructing a country where infrastructure has been reduced to a bare minimum by over 20 years of war. With resources like oil, minerals and a long coastline, Somaliland is proving more than attractive than even south of Sudan, which has been bogged down by internal conflicts and persistent tensions between various centers like Juba and Khartoum. Joining us now to discuss Somaliland as an investment destination is Dr. Ali Abdullahi. He's the CEO of Amas Consulting. Dr. Abdullahi, the question of Somaliland and the discovery of oil, of course, is a very interesting development. But the legal status and entity of Somaliland makes insurers very nervous about insuring and providing cover for businesses who go there. How do you mitigate these when you sell Somaliland as an investment destination to private sector investors?
Well, what you need to understand is Somalia is one entity. Apparently, I think Somaliland is part of Somalia. Somalia is improving as far as the legislative process is concerned, as far as the new federal constitution is concerned. But there are a number of challenges on the ground. There's the challenge of security, there's the challenge of investor confidence, and I think there is the challenge of the international community to understand that Somalia is back on its feet and it's up running and looking for investors to invest in Somalia. There's going to be two conferences, one being organized by the UK government on the 7th and 8th of May in London, and there's another one we are going to hold here on the 17th of June in Nairobi. The one in London is being hosted by the UK government, and the one in Nairobi is being hosted by Somalia as such. All these are to de-risk Somalia as an investment destination. And now, I think investors need to understand.
Now, when you talk about de-risking Somalia as an investment destination, take us through what it is that you would have to take into consideration to assure people that the kind of capital inflows that they will be putting in and the kind of investments that they will be making will in fact be secure.
Well, currently, as you know, the World Bank and the IMF have welcomed the return of Somalia back into the international community. It will take some time for these things to materialize. We know that a lot of international banks and international companies, especially in the resource sector, want to come back to Somalia. And this will be a good time for these companies to come back, because if you look at Angola and Mozambique, in Angola in the early 90s, there was civil war. If you look at Mozambique, it's the same thing. All these countries now, Mozambique is the largest, it's going to be the largest gas exporter with almost 200 TCF of gas. And Angola is the largest oil exporter, one of the largest oil exporters in Africa. So the investment as far as the resource sector is concerned, the opportunities are massive. The resources are available. And I think what you need to understand is the question is when, not how, to invest in Somalia.
Now, if you are that confident, take us through what the appetite has been from the private sector. What are people saying? Is there excitement? Is there interest? And if so, let's talk about what kind of money and cash flow and capital we're actually talking about, and who are the investors that are likely to be able to take that risk and to kind of go into a place that doesn't necessarily have the infrastructure to give the kind of security that one would normally require?
Well, I understand that the issue of security is not 100%, to be very objective. As you are aware of and know that Al-Shabaab have lost ground in a number of places, including Kismayu. Currently, there is a new state government that's going to be built up in Kismayu, a regional government, which will be in line with the federal constitution amendments. And what's going to happen is Puntland and Somaliland are part of parcel of the federal government, and the challenge that is being faced by the federal government is how to implement the federal constitution. Recently there was the talk of Somaliland and Somalia at Istanbul conference, and in another 90 days there's going to be a reback of that conference, and they will look again at how it can be folded into Somalia. And I think the political front, there's a lot of goodwill, and we hope that the international community, especially the international investors, can see that the opportunity is available. But the question of investing in Somalia is not how, but when.
In final terms, if one looks at any kind of time frame, when do you think the kind of timing will be right, where people will feel confident enough that the kind of questions that we've been working through would have been sufficiently addressed, and when is one likely to see, the kinds of capital coming into the country as you work through some of the security and risk concerns that potential investors might well have?
I'll give you an example. I was recently at a conference, of the East African Oil and Gas Conference, and Somalia was one of the major focus because a lot of the oil discoveries in Kenya and the gas discoveries in Mozambique have enticed a lot of investor confidence in this region, and as such they're seeing Somalia as a very good destination. But there's a caveat here. Currently, the Somali government is a selected government and not an elected government. So they need to put in place a constitution that can be implemented on the ground and have elections by 2017. So between now and 2017, we expect a lot of improvements as far as governance is concerned. And of course, investors will be really looking at Somalia as an area to look for big projects, from infrastructure to energy to resources to mining to banking and financial services. All these are ripe to be harvested in Somalia. The opportunity is massive. The question is, I think, when, not how. And I think international investors need to understand that Somalia, our company, AMSAS, has investment in Somalia. And we have been having that investment since 2008, especially in the exploration sector, oil and gas. We have an acreage in Somalia that has proven oil and gas. And I think we need to bring in investors who are savvy and who understand that investments can come into Somalia and start producing, so that the government can get taxes and at the same time create the environment for jobs to be created, and of course security will improve. Security cannot improve without direct investment, and I think the international community need to put investment in Somalia.